Welcome back. Once again, I'm your host, Carl Rising, and this week we're going to take a short break from our videos on the side benefits of various antifungal herbs and supplements to meet a request made by the friend of someone who I know from a Candida support and information group on Facebook. They requested some information on small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, otherwise known as S.I.B.O for short. What this problem is when we have a lot of bacteria, usually Candida, stuck in an area in the small intestine, not moving past, usually because it's latched on to a lot of thick, heavy, starchy foods or cheese. Cheesy potatoes. It's a great way to plug your intestines up to start this problem. It's a joke. I wouldn't recommend this. Don't do that, please. Unless you're going to chase it with some vinegar, or water, or some ginger. If you're having intestinal problems, try not to eat loaded potato skins, as tasty as they are. So remember, the small intestine is 20 feet long on average. So there's a lot of places where we can end up having this blockage and bacteria overgrowing against that blockage, especially if that blockage is made of a lot of sugary and starchy foodstuffs that Candida can eat, grow in, build biofilm, matrices through, form a colony within. And that can really plug things up and contribute to not only further instances of this happening, but exacerbate other pre-existing autoimmune Candida-caused intestinal situations like IBS, Crohn's, colitis, all of those typical situations. This can cause leaky gut, can be caused a little bit by leaky gut because of inflammation at the site of the leaks, slowing things down with the motility in the intestinal tract. But anyway, let's break this down a little bit more. Now that we've discussed a little bit about what this is, tell you how does it happen a little bit more, like a little more nitty-gritty on that. So the causes, I already talked about weak stomach acid a little bit, and lack of zinc. If the stomach acid isn't strong enough, I've discussed this many times in other videos, if the stomach acid is not strong enough, then it's not going to break down the minerals in our food, and that includes zinc, and we need zinc to make decent stomach acid, so we get catch-22'd, which is why, ignore the blur from my old camera, which is why I drink lots of vinegar water. This is an empty jug of vinegar. I put water and lemon juice in with some more vinegar from a fresh bottle. But hugely beneficial. There'll be a great video on apple cider vinegar in the very near future. Keep posted for that. Subscribe for that. And so then we have small intestine dysmotility, which is usually caused by a lack of another mineral, zinc. That's magnesium. It's been a long week. Magnesium, which on top of the other 200 different things magnesium does in the body, it pulls water into the intestines, and after we've used it up in other forms and oxidized it, it helps power our peristaltic muscles, our intestinal muscles that move everything through. So we've got a situation where it's a more favorable pH for Candida overgrowth or for E. coli overgrowth, and we have lack of motility. We've got just cheesy potatoes stuck there. Maybe even some hot pepper flakes in there, cause a little more swelling. A little bit of sour cream, add another variety of dairy, complicate things a little more. stuck down there, not really moving, not being broken down enough. The bacteria that eat it really efficiently, but not efficiently enough to break it down, more like live in it. Things like Candida, thriving in it, causing inflammation in the intestinal tract around that mass of food. This is already sounding like a bad day. Then you have all the other sugars and starches in the diet. Already talked about cheese and potatoes. That's a pretty sugary, starchy thing to eat. Even if you don't eat that, you might be falling under the spell of the SAD, the standard American diet. Everyone else is eating it. It's what's advertised on TV. It should be okay, right? My doctor seems to think I'm fine, even though I'm complaining of umpteen different things. He just thinks it's normal because umpteen people complain of these umpteen things. Whoa. And lastly, antibiotics and preservatives, killing off a lot of our beneficial bacteria that help promote a good environment, good stomach acid, good motility. Now, symptoms. Gas and bloating, as there's gas buildup behind the blockage, and everything's trying to move down, past that point of constipation. If you don't have a blockage on both sides of this, it's going to come up into the stomach. If you have a blockage on both sides of your overgrowth, you're probably going to get leaky gut. If you don't already have it already, you are probably going to develop it with multiple blockages in your intestines. Next thing, alternating between constipation and diarrhea, as the pressure eventually gets so high that that it overcomes the plug and pushes everything through, all this undigested material that just had way too many yeast cultures in it. It's full of mycotoxins. It's a toxic thing. The body needs to get rid of it, along with a whole bunch of other minerals that it wasn't absorbing. Oh my god, constipation, diarrhea, exhaustion, fatigue, dehydration, low electrolytes, the whole thing. I've seen it. People don't take care of this right off the bat. They just kind of go, oh, it's normal. I'm just a little under the weather today. But when that goes on and on and on and on, for a number of weeks, months, you probably should have gotten on top of that. But it's not too late to reverse the damage. So, get on top of it now. Next thing, with all of that pressure, abdominal pain and discomfort, pressure, swelling from pressure, autoimmune inflammation, inflammation from oxidizing mycotoxins, inflammation from different foods that were in the diet, like nightshade vegetables, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and eggplants that are in that section of the intestines, just kind of there, especially the more sugary, starchy ones like the tomatoes and the potatoes that are great Candida food. Causing all this inflammation, though. Going to have a lot of stomach pain, and that'll lead to later things, potentially like fistulas, other abdominal hernias, just things you really don't want to deal with if you don't have to. My intestines hurt just thinking about it, even though my intestines are pretty healthy with all the practicing what I preach here. But yeah. And this, like I said, last point here, will usually be accompanied by something like leaky gut, IBS, Crohn's, colitis. This is just part of the Candida grab bag of symptoms. It has a name. It's treated like it's almost like it's a separate syndrome, but it's kind of a chicken and egg thing with your other Candida problems. Let's just bear that in mind. It's not a standalone thing. It is an event happening in a timeline that has to do with other events. No single event or action in the body or phenomena, anything, is an island from the rest of the processes. Any belief that it is different is some sort of denial, delusion, hubristic, I'm gonna live forever no matter what I eat idea. Don't do that to yourself. That's how people end up dying in their 60s. Don't die in your 60s unless you're saving someone from a burning building or a car crash or something. Don't die in your 60s, please. Don't die in your 60s. Too much that you can do after you're 60. If you've been paying attention, you have too much you can potentially say by the time you're 60. Don't die when you're 60. So, treatment. Pretty straightforward. A lot of anti-Candida type stuff going on here. Apple cider vinegar for increasing the potency of the stomach acid and introducing enzymes that break down cellulose, so it helps break down the plant matter portion of the biofilm from Candida, as well as break up, say, a pile of starch sitting there, like the potatoes in those potato skins, cheesy potato skins, with a bit of chives on them. Don't fall for it. Don't mind me. Next thing, I already talked about enzymes from the vinegar. They're taking digestive enzymes on their own. Formulas that contain enzymes to digest various types of foodstuffs really give you a leg up on breaking up debris that's slowing things down, causing things to back up in the intestinal tract, as well as removing scar tissue in the intestinal tract from inflammation, making it more flexible so that these problems can, hopefully go away. Can at least be harder to develop, to have it recur. Next thing, of course, we got to get into our minerals that are necessary for digestive health: magnesium and zinc. We need this magnesium, or at least 70% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. It is the most common nutritional deficiency in America. It's because of all the sugar we eat and how weak our stomach acid is from feeding all that Candida that crowds out the bacteria that get us our minerals like zinc, and we get catch-22'd right in there. So take your magnesium, take your zinc, have it with some vinegar water, maybe pop some enzymes with it. You can do all that together on an empty stomach, and oh my god, it'll help a whole bunch, especially like a magnesium citrate. This magnesium citrate helps pull water into the intestinal tract, which is very important, and you'd think that that would be about pulling water out of the digestive tract. People sitting there with diarrhea going, I'm losing all this water in my digestive. I feel like I have too much water in my digestive tract. Wrong. It's not that you didn't have enough water, you have too much water in there. Because if things were working properly, you would just be peeing a lot. You would have clear urine. You would be going like every hour or so if you were drinking enough water to give you too much water in your bowel, like you think. No. It's because you, like I said earlier, a backup of mycotoxins, partially digested food that is now rotting, and it is being expelled because the plug of undigested food that was preventing that mixture from moving through has broken down now to the point where the pressure behind it is greater than the structural integrity, I guess we'll say, of that particular clog. I just keep envisioning a pile of cheesy potato in there. I'm sure you are too, because I keep saying cheesy potatoes. Don't go get cheesy potatoes after this. If you absolutely need to have something like it, go get some sweet potatoes and roast it and put a pile of nutritional yeast on it. It'll taste, kind of almost the same, a little sweeter, but it'll be a lot more gut healthy, ton more gut healthy, give you a bunch of vitamins and minerals, including magnesium and zinc, and some potassium and all sorts of goodies, and a little bit of beta carotene and that vitamin A. Gonna repair that gut, need some vitamin A, and a lot of fiber, and there's more fiber than starch in a sweet potato. Next thing, if you really need help getting things moving, there are a lot of really nice herbal laxatives that you can pick from that won't force action as hard as, say, your typical over-the-counter synthetic laxative pill. Those, if you're not careful, those can leave you very uncomfortable, almost to the point of your intestines hurting. If you really needed something like that, you took something, especially if they say on some of them you can take a scaling dose. If you take the higher dose, you can be really sore. Not to mention, it's just a whole bunch of synthetic stuff. You probably would do better without. So there's herbs like senna and cascara sagrada that are very good. I'm actually going to write those down for you here. And you can find a lot of really good herbal teas out there that are pre-blended, but by themselves. Let's see why I write this before I do this. Like talking and writing at the same time, can't even spell. Senna. These are South American herbs, by the way. By the names here, I'm sure that's obvious. Cascara. Sagrada. Personally, I like Smooth Move by Traditional Medicinals. So it's look this up. You find it comes with and without peppermint, which peppermint is really nice for bringing down swelling in the intestinal tract and urinary tract. So that can give you a lot more comfort if you're dealing with some issues like IBS while you're trying to reverse all these other Candida problems. So that tea is called Smooth Move. I actually just had some last night because I'm using a detox tea and I want to keep everything that I pulled out of my system while I'm working out. Burning off the last of my excess body fat, all these fat soluble toxins that are moving through my lymphatic. I want them to go out because those get dumped in the intestines. But anyway, so yeah, Smooth Move, good time, with and without peppermint. These are some really good herbal laxative options. And of course, after you have cleared the blockage and you have a little bit of motility going again, then you start looking into replacing and remodeling your intestinal bacterial balance. Look at some good probiotics, fermented foods like raw, unpasteurized sauerkraut. Maybe up your game on your vinegar water a bit more. Kimchi, though, watch your spice. Kimchi is for people who do not already have inflammation, because there's way too many nitrates in it. There's a lot of good things you can do once you really understand the what, the why, and the how these gas, bloating, constipation, and diarrhea symptoms have been happening. Once you get a hold on your diet, you increase your mineral intake, you increase your vinegars or ginger or lemon juice intake, and you cut that sugar and starch intake down. You'll notice a big change. There's a lot to be said for a salad and a nice little piece of meat, or even just a high protein salad if you're trying to avoid eating meat for dietary reasons, from either moral objection or for a cleanse, what have you. The more you lean towards foods that feed the bacteria that prefer things to be really strong and acidic in the small intestine, the more efficient things will go, and the less you'll have these problems. And remember, this is a symptom, not a condition by itself. It can be chronic, so it can overshadow everything, but this is largely a symptom. And I would say it is a symptom most commonly of IBS, and definitely going to be present with things like Crohn's, which is progressed to the point where there's vomiting going on. It's not just expelling out one end. Things have backed up so bad that sometimes the plug up towards the top instead of the bottom goes first, and then there's all sorts of things in there that the body really doesn't want, so it all comes out. But yeah, I hope that this video taught you a lot. I hope you feel like you can get a handle on issues like this now. And anyone from not just the Candida support and information groups, anyone here on YouTube can feel free, either in a direct message to me or in comments down below, to request that I cover a video on a topic. I'm more than happy to do a video on any health related topic. I will just about always relate it back to intestinal health, because it's actually a game I used to play at the health food store. Name a disease, I'll relate it back to Candida overgrowth. But feel free, and also feel free to like, share, and subscribe. There's information down below for my Patreon. And there's many more videos to come as well. I've still got at least 38 more videos coming on my antifungal herb and supplement series that I'm working on. Alright. Thank you. Eat well, sleep well, heal well, feel well. Take care.